Our events are held in webinar conference centres. These are different to conventional webinars, which are passive and often just telephone conferences. While internet connections of the panelists, those involved and the servers themselves are beyond our control, every effort possible is made to uphold the highest quality.
Welcome to this Rise Multiversity event that I'm so delighted to be able to put my support and energy behind. I've been researching the dark side, as most of you know, for a very long time. And this piece of the puzzle is huge. And to be able to address it in the usual, simple, and elegant way that Anais addresses everything she does, so that we can move this out of our field. So important right now, considering the state of what is hurling out of everyone's unconscious. So even though we're small, we're a mighty group. Thank you for showing up. Each one of you that takes this seriously does it for the whole. So needed. Much love. And so grateful that you are here, Anais, weathered millions of storms to get to where you are, to be the way shower that you are. I'm so enjoying the content that you're bringing forth and your presence. Love you. It's all yours, darling.
Oh, love you too, Sienna. And welcome to everybody who's decided to spend some time with us this afternoon on a Saturday. It's such an oddball time. There's a thing I want to do first, and I want to share from my heart. I want to reach out to everyone who's watching and everyone who's tuned in. They may not be the same thing. So I would just like to say that this is a safe space. It is a heart space. It is a space where we welcome any being who is invested in transformation and who has an understanding of where we are right now and why they might want to join in, listen in, and become part of what we're going to dive into today. So I want to make sure everyone feels welcome and everyone feels safe, because what we're going to do is a wonderful little exploration of self meeting self from the inside out and going deep into an understanding of our genetics. We really need to resolve this human condition that we've lived with for so long. It's responsible for so much pain and suffering. And we really have the means to end it. So that's my beginning for us. Now, the way this is going to roll out is I do have a PowerPoint, because that's really my little pacifier. I make a pacifier so I have something to hold on to while I'm riding these energy waves, talking to people. But I want to start us off by asking for each of us to take a minute, take a couple of breaths, really feel your body, and just say to your body, I understand that I am a living library. Just repeat that. I understand that my body is a living library, and that I am carrying the genetics from many, many, many sources. Let's start there. Yeah, we're quite something, we are. One of those sources of genetic information which I carry comes from the Draco-Reptilian Consortium, who for their own interests determined when, how, and why to manipulate our genetics to serve a need that they had. And another part of our living library genetics is from our beloved planet and what she has contributed and what she is now transmuting to bring in line with her idea of who Homo sapiens on the planet Earth will be. So we've got to build a bridge. We're going to build a bridge. Okay. Now I want to ask each of you a question. And the question is, how much do you know about having a completely genetically manipulated mashup in your DNA? How much do you know about your lineage and your genealogy and your family history? And for those of you who are on tonight who have played in the fields of the great creative sandbox and you have more information available to you about your long-term history in more than one embodiment, let that be present with you as we're doing this exploration. I'd like to share with you that in the creative sandbox in which I have experienced all kinds of life forms and consciousness, I am several thousand years old. And I have the memory that a several thousand-year-old person would be likely to have. Not every contiguous moment, but trust me, I have the big strokes. So I want us to really breathe into the reality that we didn't just arrive here now. We're not only expressing ourselves here now in this moment. We are infinite, we are everywhere, and we have a tremendous amount to bring to this little exploration that we're about to embark on. So I want you to feel your true metaphysical age, whatever that may be. Some of us have really been around a long time. Long time. Woo. So, okay, here we're gonna go now. All right, I'm going to share this little PowerPoint with you, and I'm going to open up the conversation. And we're going to go into some exercises because I would love you to take away having a sense of, okay, sure, why not? Maybe I will try to synthesize my reptilian DNA. What have I got to lose? Not a thing, except my incessant internal conflict. Sure, I'm going to try this. So how do I go about it? So what we're talking about in terms of technique, it's really spiritual technology. I like us to be really sensitive to the opportunities that we're in right now to appreciate all the spiritual technology that is unfolding for us daily, hourly, weekly, depending on what our process is. This is just one. We are now at the point where at some levels of information, we are able to communicate with each other directly on the internet, on the higher planes. And this is a very efficient way of working and of communicating. And we're involved with that now. So that's a spiritual technology that some of us are starting to test that out. It's fun. So how do we synthesize this reptilian mammalian DNA situation? It is a conscious body process. All right. For me, everything is information. Consciousness is information. Everything is conscious and information, and it's in relationship. And our job as we wake up is to really flow into this dance, enjoy it, be, as I have been this week, gobsmacked by it, and let ourselves just appreciate our multidimensionality as it unfolds and deepens, and we have more and more energy at our disposal. So we know the story of the human condition. This is the story of brother against brother, man's inhumanity to man, men's violence against women. And this is a story as old as the history we know. And it's a story that we accept without question. Now, you may have heard this throughout your life. I remember the first time I encountered this phrase, the human condition. And it was when, as a youngster, I was quite troubled by some of the interactions I saw going on in the world. And I asked the people around me, what's going on here? Why are we killing each other? Why are women being raped? What's going on here? What is happening here? And people patted me on my little head and they smiled and they said, "Oh, sweetie, it's just the human condition." And in that moment, my little hand wanted to do a very flagrant hand gesture, but I would have been, reprimanded for that kind of spunk. But that was my reaction, was like, are you kidding me? What are we talking about here? Why do we accept this without question? So in the course of my working my own spiritual technology, what I discovered within my own DNA was, oh wait, there's a reptilian consciousness that I can be in relationship. Now here's the kicker. This reptilian consciousness can fully see us, can fully interact with us. They're in an interdimensional relationship, but they have engineered us specifically by turning on some genes, adding some genes, and shutting off some genes. So that is not a reciprocal relationship. Most of us cannot see them or cannot interact with them in a conscious way. So I want you to just sort of feel the imbalance. Take a breath and feel that in your body. That's a profound power distortion. And it is one that we no longer are required to accept. So we're going to talk about two kinds of DNA. What we think of as the Draco-Reptilian DNA that interacts with us in ways that we find non-life affirming, violent, disturbing, that lead to all kinds of control scenarios and systems that do not support us in our expression of wellness and abundance here on the planet. There's a story here, and I'm going to refer you to Dan Winter and to Robert Morningsky and his Terra papers, and you can find these gentlemen on YouTube. There's lots of information. I have information on my YouTube channel. Robert Morningsky's information is coming through the Hopi oral tradition that is at minimum 50,000 years old. And in Robert Morningsky's telling of this story, the Pleiadians were the first people, star people, to interact with humans. And they didn't interact with us to farm us necessarily. They had a different agenda. About 10 to 12, maybe less, but around 10,000 years ago, we had another visitation, which is well documented in the Sumerian ancient history, in which a group of people who called themselves the Anunnaki spent some time here, took a look around, needed the gold, wanted the gold. We're going to talk about why they needed the gold. When they came to this planet was just overflowing with gold. Lots and lots and lots of gold. Now, we all know the story of gold, and I do believe at this point it is still considered the most precious metal on the earth. And we're going to understand why in a little bit. So in the Pleiadian story, and in the Hopi version of the story, we get the history of the Orion Wars. This is thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, galactic history. And in the subsequent activities of the Orion Wars, we had Anu. I'm going to skip around here. Anu was involved in a kind of diplomatic relationship. And he had a wife who was a Draco queen, but she was not from the fallen line of Draco-Reptilians who had lost through tinkering their implosive DNA. So his son Enki had implosive genetics. There's a creation link to the prime creator, spark, the soul spark. We can think of it very simply as the soul spark. The eternal soul spark, where you move in and out of prime creator, and when your body form changes and dies, you have the option to go right back into prime creator, reintegrate into the one, rest, rejuvenate. Think about what tools and toys you might want to play with next on a creative level before you and prime creator decide to breathe you back out into some form of expression. All right. So Enki's line was connected to that. Now, his father Anu was also in relationship with another woman who was his brother, half-brother Enlil's mother. Her genetics were of the fallen genetics, the non-implosive DNA, which meant that they were no longer carrying the eternal soul spark, which is actually, we experience this as organic bliss. We experience it in many ways, but certainly the most beautiful and basic way is as organic bliss that we feel inside of ourselves, inside of our alignments when we're clear and when we're, really lined up as we should be. And this beautiful implosive energy moves through us, moves through our heart chakra, sets up all these beautiful rhythms in our subsequent energy fields and resonances. It's just stunning. Now, the Draco-Reptilian line, think of it as the Enlil line, do not have access to this. They do not have an organic internal path to bliss. Those of us who have implosive DNA, we light up from inside. Our DNA responds to this. Our DNA shares this light moving out through our skin and all these wonderful relationships, sharing it with our environment. The Draco-Reptilians are not able to do this. Their source of bliss works the other way round. It is inorganic, and we'll talk about the ways in which it's inorganic. These are substitute short-term charges that they must have to keep themselves alive. So when they came to this planet, the reason they were mining for gold is because they needed to eat the gold, because the gold carried enough of a spark to keep their genetics organized the way they wanted to organize them. Now, this choice to eat gold gave them the opportunity. We all need gold. We have gold, and when we look at our telomeres and our genetics, there's gold that is carrying wave signal throughout our DNA. Those of us who have implosive DNA don't need to eat gold. Those of us who don't have implosive DNA have to bring in a charge from something outside of ourselves and put it in our bodies, whether that's gold, whether that's cocaine, whether that's alcohol, whether that's prescription, whatever the charge is, and it tends to be addictive in nature because there's never a consistent supply of it. One always has to go get more. When you have implosive DNA, the more is infinite and it's inside of you. Okay, so that's the distinction. It's really important. So you can see from this little diagram here that the problem of DNA distortion is caused by non-implosive DNA and Lil's genetics. He used his own sperm in the genetic experiments that he did as they were generating their workers to go get the gold and do the heavy lifting that they needed done on this planet. They weren't going to do that work. I mean, they did it for a while, but they got tired of doing it. So they thought, okay, let's make us some workers, which is what they did. Well, these different genetics have been combined in what we are now downline from many thousands of years of this, and being able to come out of our corrals somewhat. And, you know, you can look at historical, quasi-historical documents, mythology, whatever you want to think of it. There are so many stories that describe how the fallen ones, these are the ones who do not have implosive DNA, did what they did on this planet. They generated these genetic females. They kept tinkering with them until they were able to bear children. For a long time, they were dealing with mules, human mules, species interbred that cannot reproduce. Long time. Then they fixed that problem. Okay. And then they were just doing all these things to figure out what they needed to do to keep us in play, to keep us under control, to keep us reproducing our own biological clones by way of having children, so they didn't have to keep doing all this work over and over and over again to come up with a reliable supply of, you can call them workers, you can call them slaves, whatever. All right. So we have this fractionated DNA going on in our base pairs. As a result of this genetic manipulation on the part of the Draco-Reptilians, our junk genes are turned off or have been turned off. Now, every now and then, somebody's junk genes just go boo, and they get turned on, and that's a problem because then they suddenly are aware of a lot of information that our Draco-Reptilian relatives and royal bloodlines and controllers would prefer that we not have. It makes it easier for them if we simply don't know what's going on. So our junk genes have been turned off. This generates incessant internal conflict. We're going to see why when we look at what are the characteristics of the Draco-Reptilians. So raise your hand if you know you have Draco stuff going on in your life that expresses as your DNA bending light that produces shadow. Yeah? I saw your hand up. Yeah, I'm sure there are a bunch of us out there who know this is going on. It's like, why? Why? Okay. So complicating this is that we have all these various religions that blame these external, internal conflict behaviors on Satan, the devil, Lucifer, the fallen ones. This is what we get, right? This is the storyline. This is what we get. And religion, interestingly enough, like they know all about this, but not one of them has been able to heal the human condition on a mass scale. All they've done is to try to manage and ameliorate the problem through shame, through donation, through rules, through rigidity, we know what this is, right? And we all have, some of us have grown up with a particular flavor of story that we get to understand about this internal conflict. So you have your good conscience, and I remember being told you have the devil will whisper in your ear, your left ear, and your angels will talk to you in your right ear. I'm going like, what is going on here? So let's acknowledge that there is no formal, traditional structure of religion on this planet that has healed our human condition on a mass scale so that we are no longer slaughtering each other. Raise your hand if you got that much, right? This is what no, not one. The closest to getting us moved along this path has been Buddhism, because they are inviting us to be good, to be observational, to really take a look around and see what's going on, and to do the inner work that doesn't require as much of a mediator, direct connection to prime creator and source that some of these other religions insist on having the mediator. And the mediator is part of the Draco-Reptilian structure. So, you know, the money, the donation, the way the church has grown, the richest beyond the gold that goes off this planet, the intermediary religious structures throughout history have been unbelievably wealthy. Okay, so let's look. Non-implosive body challenge. These are your physical challenges. So pay attention to this list because you can just check some stuff off. These are things that you're aware of in your family lineage or going on in your body right now. You're wondering what's up. Premature aging, some form of a genetic disease or difficulty, blood type related issues, musculoskeletal symptoms and disruptions, hypertension, circulatory disorders, diabetes, and cancer is the giant red flag letting us all know that these genetics are breaking down. They have been used and used and used and fractionated and fractionated and fractionated and fractionated. Stuff is breaking down now. We're not healthy anymore, which means we're not useful to them as workers. You can't work, you're sick. So what are they doing instead? They're mining us for money. All right, you're sick. We'll plug you into Big Pharma. Big Pharma will be another one of our systems and we'll pick your pocket that way. Can't work, we're just gonna pick your pocket. Now the non-implosive relational challenges with the Draco-Reptilian genetics, psychological and emotional, we have the tendency toward psychopathy and sociopathy, aggression, testosterone, rage, physical and sexual abuse, the inability to feel love, unable to feel love, unable to share love, lack of empathy, lack of compassion, a kind of a really curious lack of what we would consider a healthy community, and a deeply seated hatred of women and the divine feminine. A lot of rigidity, a lot of ritualized behaviors, which we're also seeing now. The genetics are going awry in terms of attention deficit disorder and autism and ADD, and we're losing it. And you can see people who have obsessive compulsive disorder, all this stuff, it's like the springs are springing loose. And from a psychological and emotional relational point of view, our Draco-Reptilian DNA will drive us to create a false self because there's no internal core self that identifies with anything that's bigger than just me. So there's a lot of activity and a lot of energy that's directed toward accumulating this external bliss, these external bliss constructions to help provide a sense of self for someone who doesn't really have an inner core or has a weak inner core because they're not aligned yet and their DNA is doing difficult things, making things difficult for them. Okay. All right, so we'll put this up here. So global culture, mostly now based on greed, taking and violence, reflect the human genome that has been badly genetically engineered. And there are now, how many of us, 6, 7 billion, give or take, depending on who you're asking. That's a lot of energy. It's a lot of light bending now in very chaotic and ways that are going like this because our DNA now with the planet, I hope you all know what's going on with the planet right now. We are being bombarded by all kinds of radiation and photonic light. And trust me, as we sit here watching this program together, we're mutating. Our genetics are mutating. The whole epigenetic field is changing. Now, as I said, our genetic manipulators deliberately deleted or deactivated genetic code information that offers any more promise in life than just basic survival. They just wanted workers, Occasionally some people got to be worker artists, got to do some artistic expression, and our lives were shortened. Our lives were shortened. They thought, well, we'll keep them around for 100 years. 100 years, we'll work them really hard. If they drop dead, they drop dead. if they don't drop dead, they maybe can teach the new workers how to do what we want them to do, and that'll be part of our rolling out system. They'll, you know, we'll let them live that long to be part of institutional knowledge, and then they're going to die. All right. So we all know that our Homo sapiens history is a complete mystery. None of us really understand how we got here, where we came from. We really don't know. And a lot of us spend a great deal of time thinking about that. Like, what? Where did this, where, how, why, how? Okay. So it's a mystery, but our human genetics now, because we're tinkering with them again, we are in the next iteration of gotta tinker with the people on this planet because they're waking up. This situation is changing. The planet is waking up. Now we're going to have to go through some extreme new genetic measures to keep everybody where we want them, which is pretty much, you know, asleep. So genetics, the new genetics are revealing unexpected slicing and dicing and tragic failures that have contributed to misery and suffering. So, you know, our solar system is doing what it's doing. Our planet is awakening. She's mutating the DNA so that we wake up. And this is where we get to like play in conscious co-creation with the planet and say, yep, I'm ready to synthesize my reptilian DNA and my mammalian DNA and any other off-planet contributions that are part of who I am in the Homo sapiens template. So who's your daddy? How many of you know your genetic lineage? I would love, when we go into the sharing portion of this, if you have some understanding of your family lineage, maybe 2 or 3 generations back, and you can see if you can tag any of the genetic lines that you know you can count on the fact that you have some Draco-Reptilian genetics going on. We all do. We all have a primitive brain. We all have a limbic brain. We have that. We know this. It's there. And we have our cerebrum that sits on top of that brain. So we have 2 different brain systems hanging out together and not working so well together. So you want to ask yourself, who's your daddy? Who's your mama? You know, are you, what earth energy are you plugged into? Very interesting questions. So let's talk about implosive DNA. People with implosive DNA have the mammalian social tribe, touchy-feely, let's hang together, let's protect each other, let's work together, let's express ourselves in individual and group energy, and we don't have to do that through rigidity or really strict hierarchies. Share easily, nurtures with intuitive support. The life force moves from the inside out as a sharing heart to passion dynamic. We have heart over mind. We have love over power, and we have do no harm. Now, the other part of our DNA hoards and accumulates, stores energy and power, manifests or nurtures itself first. The life force is grabbed by whatever means available to bring to the inside as a closed heart dynamic. It's for me. Mind over heart. What's heart? I don't know what that is. Heart, what are you talking about? Power over all. Power. And shock and awe as, like, if you won't do it my way, here's what the highway is going to look like. I'm going to carpet bomb your country for the next 10 years. That's what I'm going to do because it's my way or the highway. So we have both these things going on inside of us. So as you look at this list, you know, if you're really honest, you can kind of like notice little things that you do or things that you've done in small moments. Like the non-implosive DNA might not be your life story, your consistent behavior, but I'll bet, and I will, full disclosure, as I process this, I look back and I recognized where and how I was moving and expressing this kind of energy in my life. Okay. That was really interesting to see that and then figure out what I was going to do with that. Okay, and then who's your God? Right? Who's your God? The Anunnaki would prefer that you continue to believe in the Lord Most High, and the meme of sacrifice and self-sacrifice and working really hard and giving most of your wealth away, and you get to kind of live humbly and simply because you're loved by your Creator. Huh? Good one, huh? What a story. What a story. And people are still going for it. They're still sucking that one up. Amazing. Just absolutely mind-blowing. All right, Draco-Reptilian signs and symptoms. Okay, so when we have the interdimensional movement, this happens in our dream time, it's coming in from us in another dimension, when our defenses are down, when our consciousness is, out to lunch. Women obsessed with their external experience. I'm gorgeous, therefore I'm valuable. Social mask, inauthentic inner reality, therefore the need for this social mask. Anger management issues. Bitch. Sienna Lay, you like to talk about the queen bitch? This is her wheelhouse. Do you agree? Yeah. Verbal abuse or snarky, like really snarky. Lots of division between women, right? Because that's a power thing, right? I'm not gonna be a good female sister to you. No, I'm gonna backstab you and talk about you behind your back and tell your friend Sherry about how fat I think you are now. I mean, this is just what goes on. Lack of empathy, compassion, emotional connection. Outwardly warm, inwardly cold. Addicted to external sources of inorganic bliss, whether that's getting those nails done, snorting, whatever it is, that you need to have. We all need the bliss experience. So they're aligned with some form of inorganic bliss. Drinking. How many of you know women who just like, I'm just tipping a little, I'm tipping a little, I'm tipping a little. How many of you know women who have been tipping and tipping and tipping and are now full-blown alcoholics and refuse to admit it? Not doing anything about it. Sexual predation, vampirism. Wow, that's intense. And or the flip of that with Draco women is they go into this kind of weird submissive place where they allow themselves to be used by Draco men. It's interesting. Human women tend to do that a little bit more, but it does happen with the Draco-Reptilian dominant women. Self-ideation is mental. It's an idea. It's aligned often with sexual manipulation for gain. And they're good at math. That's nice. Okay. With men, they're obsessed with external markers of material success. I have, therefore I am powerful. Physical abuse, emotional abuse, lack of empathy, compassion, emotional connection, outwardly warm, inwardly cold. Unless you're a member of the Royals, then you can be outwardly cold and inwardly cold. Addicted to external sources of organic bliss. And self-ideation is mental. It's not body-based, right? It's not warm and fuzzy. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't express itself sensually. It's bam, 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 bam. It's about a short-term orgasm as opposed to full-bodied in bliss, relationship with love, trust, and intimacy. And they're good with numbers and abstract relationships. So we can look at our society and we got a good picture of who's who and who's doing what. So what do we do next? Mammalian people who, you know who you are. They're dedicated to spiritual discovery. They have a sense of being a part, something bigger than they are. They just kind of have this sense. They may not know what that is, but they have this sense that that they're not just here today, gone tomorrow, nothing mattered. I am, and I express the divine feminine, not as a queen. I have authentic sharing of a self in process, and I appreciate male energy. I'm repulsed by negative emotions, anger, and rage. I have a physical sense of the feeling of love. I am quite there with empathy, compassion, emotional connection. Outwardly, I'm warm. Inwardly, I'm centered and warm. I'm open to organic bliss. We will find that these people will be artists, musicians, dancers, creators, and creative types. Trust and intimacy is expressed in sensual connection. Tribe, home, place, connection to body and planet, really important. Men, inner wealth more valued than material success. I am, therefore I have, co-creative power, prowess, honors feminine energy in self and in women, empathy, compassion, emotional connection, outwardly warm, inwardly centered and warm. Seeks and cultivates organic bliss that can be shared. Trust and intimacy are also expressed as sensual and protective emotional connection. Artists, musicians, dancers, creators. Tribe, home, place, connection to body, and that should be planet. But we can be connected to plants too. Okay, so the next question is, in your life, are you aware that you have got access to organic bliss? So that's a question I'm going to ask everybody to just, it's a great takeaway question. And maybe some of you will be brave enough to discuss this when we get to that part of the presentation. Or have you got yourself in a situation where you've got addictive bliss? Happens to a lot of us, right? And we know from statistics just in the United States how many people are overdosing on prescription meds. And it's a huge problem and growing in the United States. And alcoholics and people who are trying to get bliss, but haven't got an organic source. Are you someone who has a little bit of both? Okay. So now, before we go into our first exercise where I'm going to guide you in ways in which you can connect with your DNA, I want to just turn it over to Adrian and open it up to comments, questions before we go into the shared exercise.
Hello, Jack.
Hi, Jack. Nice to see you. Thank you for being brave yet again.
So I had a question about how to show empathy for the reptilians and the reptilian aspect, because I've personally felt like a division between the two, humans and reptilians, and the way I get over something is by eventually seeing how I can love it in some way. And so I'm wondering how to get in touch with them in that way to where they feel some sort of, because you said they're shut off from their feelings. They don't know what love is. So I'm wondering, how do I get to them in that way?
Oh, it's a great question. Thank you, Jack. And that's kind of where we need to go. We need to go into that part of us that does have empathy, and we can feel our hearts, the part of us that can love or would be willing to try. And the way that this unfolded for me was just being introduced to this in the dream time, seeing my reptilian DNA as a being on the other side of a wall with a glass partition. And we were kind of checking each other out, and I'm like, oh, look at that. It looks like a little raptor with a brontosaurus neck, kind of cute, greenish brown. What's going on there? And that curiosity and openness, like, who are you? Like, what? That actually brought that energy onto my side of the partition, right? Think about the electromagnetic charge. When you're in that heart space, when you're feeling that kind of empathy and love and compassion, you can connect and attract. So this was now in the same room with me, but it was kind of like backed up in the corner. And I was like, wow, come on, let's go, come over here, whoa, my cousin Vinny, whoa, what, come over here, right? And we just look at me, I'm like, come on, and then because I was in that available heart electric charge space, I could envelop that energy, I could enfold it, and I could give it the experience of the bliss, organic bliss. Right? Yeah, great. So that was the beginning, and then other pieces unfolded from there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's pretty fun. Okay. So you can think about your Draco-Reptilian as a manageable size lizard that, you can imagine that you're in that crazy bar in the Star Wars movies where there's some of everything, including your Draco-Reptilian expression of DNA. And because you can take your mammalian energy, and when you're doing this inner work, trust me, you are going to not get eaten. You really won't. If you're not prepared, you might get eaten. But my job is to prepare you. So instead of having your throat ripped out, or find yourself sexually vampirized, it's like, whoa, cousin Finny, that is just really hard to resist. And I will say to you that part of us is really hungry for organic bliss and love. They're starving for it. They're really starved for it. So, okay. So anybody else want to chime in? Go ahead, Sienna. I can see you.
Well, I don't. You're going to take us through some exercises, so I don't want to direct us into. I have a bazillion questions on this topic, but I'm not sure that they're exactly appropriate. Because they're more of a understanding of how the photon and radiation, what it's doing actually in the physics of it to this is, we talk about the great deconstruction, and we see all this rage hurling out and the insanity exploding, and one could say things are getting way worse. This thing is out of control. Other people say it's the death throes of these lizards, and it's their tail just taking down everything on their way out. They can't handle this upgrading of frequency. And so I'm wondering about that whole relationship, and as particular, how it's expressing with that part of ourselves.
Well, this is the second takedown for them on this planet. The first time was an asteroid. Got rid of their big brothers, right?
The dinosaurs, yes. And of course, there's all these predictions that this is going to happen. And
we have a date. Are you ready? The date is February 27th.
I heard that last night on BP Watch. They got the asteroid number and the whole 9 yards. You're looking forward to this, are you?
No, I'm looking forward to my world is peaceful, blissful. I'm connected to the planet. And hey,
we don't have to do that one again.
My DNA is not going to bend light that way. Some people's might. Might sound like a car crash in my neighborhood. I don't know. Could hear a big car crash in my neighborhood. Somebody else might be going through God knows what. So the light, the radiation is mutating primarily to open up the junk genes, to activate the junk genes, because the junk genes is where we get to be more fully aware of and conscious relationship to our multidimensional selves. We get to be in a communication relationship with the planet when our junk genes are activated. You're looking at somebody now, all my genes, pretty much, they're all my genes. They're just like, yo ho ho, I am such a mutant. I'm a mutant. I know this. It's, but everybody's coming along. I'm going to have company. It's great, right?
So you mean you were born with your junk genes turned on, or they've been getting activated? You're ahead of the curve in terms of that. And these are not junk genes. This is our actual genetic potential that got manipulated and turned off.
Right. but they're called junk genes.
Right,
We're
right.
not supposed to know they have any value.
And this is the longevity program. This is our connection to multidimensionality and source. This is our ability to time travel. What else is in there? Well, I mean, and I don't want to take you where you don't want to go, but
we're going to go. It's important for us to understand what are the benefits of, like, oh Christ, why would I do this? We want to know why we would do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So all those things that you mentioned, plus regeneration, physical regeneration, like beginning to be able to have a conversation with our bodies that move us through a multidimensional process of why we are sick. Because it's not just your organ failing, or it's a virus, or it's this. It is a beautiful, multidimensional, holographic structure. And when you can develop that relationship with your body and you go in and say, let's talk. What's going on here? What do you need from me? What am I not giving to you? What information do you have for me that I really need right now? I am ready to read the book of this illness. Yeah? Okay, that's a big one. You know, we get that. We can, big pharma can kiss my ass. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
So regeneration, astonishing creativity that's connected to spiritual technology that's going to bring in new forms of expression that we're all waiting for. We're all waiting for free energy. We're all so ready. It's like, when is it coming? Right? We've got to be the juice that primes that pump. And when we do this work and we're engaging with the planet in a way that says, yeah, our genes are awake, Ma. What's up? For as long as we're here, what are we engaging with you here? Let's do it. You know, let's have the flashes of inspiration, the brainstorming, and then the pieces, you know, from the co-creative masterclasses, the pieces that just start to come together, right? People talking to people, people connecting with people, people working with people, people bringing something new into the world that is not manipulated and controlled by the Draco-Reptilian agenda. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, good. How's that for?
But now, that's fabulous. So there's so much to this. And again, you know, if this isn't where you want to go, I'm totally good with it. But we have this inner reboot. So we have this war going. Is this going to, I know you're going to get here. So because obviously this is about how do we resolve this?
It's
because they're, I mean, well, you know, on one side, they're so mean and fierce, and they're hooking into every shadow and every wound, and they're never going to let go. And then other people go, they're out of here. They're done. They're toast.
You pick your story. Pick your story.
Yeah.
My story was Cousin Vinny. Okay. Yeah. I will tell you that after that moment, then came a past life. Beautiful. And it's in the video that you sent out with the email. Beautiful, beautiful. Immediately it was like, boom, okay, we're connected. Here's some information. Here's some more electrical charge. Here's some more information about your direct bloodline, right? You're going to be in relationship to this. You're gonna be the one that transmute this story. And I felt close to, like, I was holding on, you know, to like explosive magnetic energy. I was like buzzing, and I was on the phone. I said, oh, wait a minute, wait, something's going on here. I've got to go walk around and touch some stone and touch some trees and step on the grass, because this is too much energy for me. I got to share this, right? That's what goes on. And it was beautiful information. And it was a translation of this process back out, again, sharing out into the morphogenetic field, right? So here's what I want you to think about. Just make your story very simple. You and you. Forget everybody else. You and you. You and your Draco-Reptilian DNA. That's it. Okay? The day I went through this, I will tell you that all those behaviors that I could check off the list, gone. Gone. I have the deepest inner peace. Deep, 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 deep inner peace.
So you're loving it to death, is my phrase. Loving it. It's reintegrating. It's learning from you. It's getting to merge with you finally. It's getting to live on in you as you, and it no longer has its programming dominant.
No.
Now, would this be true of everyone? I mean, are some people so far down this?
And if you find this is not your experience, you call me up and let me know, and we'll work on it together.
Okay.
Adrian.
All right, we're just bringing in Cynthia.
Hi, Cynthia. So nice to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too, Sienna, Adrian. Yeah. I have a question. Just was there more than Vinny? I mean, is it where I'm going with? Oh, okay. If I was, because I've dealt with I can talk about it later, but dealt with a Draco-Reptilian that was attached to my grandmother and dispatched it. I didn't welcome it.
I've done plenty of that too, Cynthia, as well, you know. And I think they were like, whoa, wait a minute, truce. Truce.
Yeah.
Okay. Then it was mano a mano in an environment where we were meeting each other without any threat, no risk of harm. And then it was one-on-one. Yeah.
Yeah. It's all about relationships.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. But we have to get there. We have to get there. It's not that easy, right? You have to live through it, get there, make your choice, live through it again, get there, make your choice, and so on. But we're getting it. Yeah. So yeah, take that in, see where that takes you.
Oh, it's beautiful. It goes right to my heart. It feels wonderful.
Cool. I haven't had any Draco-Reptilians coming to visit me in the astral anymore either. So there's some family dynamics that go on in my bloodline that are quite old. And working it out.
Now, do you think that if one person works this out, it affects the whole bloodline? Your ancestors, your family, your daughter, your children, because it appears to me so. I don't know every bit about that, but even way back and way forward and everything.
Both. I'm writing a chapter in my book about this because of this crazy week I've had. It's just been so beautiful. It's just like, oh, okay, well, all right. I get it that I was involved with this Draco-Reptilian lineage this way, and this happened, and that happened, and, okay. And I didn't like the way that ended. Didn't end well for me, but, it's okay. And then having another piece float in to love, to life. Sienna Leia, not love it to death, love it to life.
So because we hear so often that these cold-blooded, they can't feel, all they knew it's to predator, and they're going to do it forever, and they can't change. But that's not what you're saying. You're saying they can change within you. It can change. Now in this new energetic, this truth frequency, this love vibration, and they're changing too, which is the greatest eradication of the problem possible.
Yeah, so just do your one. Just work on your one. Forward and backward.
Well, that gives a whole new expansive, comprehensive look at the value of the inner work.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, all of the inner work is, but that's like
it's gorgeous. I spent this whole week gobsmacked. I was like,
But you're not talking about loving to life every interference, every implant, every etheric manipulation. You're talking about specifically this aspect of our own DNA, right?
I would start there. It's a good place to start. I mean, where we're going, we are infinite, so we're infinite love. Who says that?
George.
So, but we have to grow into that, right? And as we grow into that, we can love more and more things back to life. Or together in the relationship, I'm doing what I'm doing, and the relationship is, well, I'm willing to love you back to life, but if that's not where you want to go, where you want to be, that's fine. You make your choice. But I'm here with you now in relationship to you, offering this because I can.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's pretty neat what's going on right now. Okay, let me see if I can settle down enough.
Are you saying that this opportunity is on the plate now and maybe 2 years ago it was not? Or it's just that your growth brought you to this place?
Oh, I think that this opportunity probably has been there. I think that we have entered a time where it's easier than ever before, where we have more of us connected and so willing to donate part of our heart space to this kind of growth and development. Every time we meditate, every time we pray, every time we're using our mammalian DNA to be empathic and compassionate and caring, we're contributing to the energy pool that is making this possible now. Yeah? In a big way, in a wonderful way.
Beautiful.
It's good to acknowledge what changes. It really is good to acknowledge what changes. It's so helpful, and it's good for your complexion.
It is. You look absolutely delicious as you're speaking, as your implosive energy is reaching across the world to touch us all. No, seriously.
I know.
So beautiful. So sweet and yummy.
No, just grow into it the way you can grow into it. It's there for you. Just choose to grow into it, choose to reach it, choose to connect with it, choose to have the relationship that has the conversation. Are we going to love this back to life? Are we letting go? What are we doing?
I have one more question, and then I'll be quiet.
Okay.
Men and women.
Oh,
It
please.
appears that this is much easier for women to do than men. It feels that the genetic manipulation of the male genome has severed men from their feelings. That could be just programmed from conditioning, though. What is your take on that? Men and women, we can all do this equally? I mean, not that I'm trying to create an inequality, but do men have to do it in a different way than women?
I can't answer that because I'm not a man.
Yeah.
So any of you guys out there who want to take this up, and we can have a conversation 6 months from now and see where this is all going, because I'm thinking, it's getting serious out there, and the men are opening to it. Yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
Jack would like to chime in.
Okay, Jack.
I was just raising my hand. I'm going to be one of those people. It's an interesting process, but yeah, it's possible. So not all men are screwed over and gonna die of heart disease. So, yeah.
Good.
Just wanted to reassure you.
Thank you.
Yeah, really. I hope not. Men are so tender, but in my years of work, I'm finding it very challenging for men to move energy in a really embodied and authentic way. That's not a judgment. It's just a perception. I would love to help the shift.
Yeah.
Sorry. No, it's okay. I mean, I was married to a Draco.
I mean, is their reptilian side stronger? I mean, is there a relationship between how strong or weak the two sides are? I mean, maybe you may have like a huge implosive energy and a little Draco, and some of us, and maybe men have bigger Dracos, and so it's really hard. You'd have to puff up the.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I personally feel like the reason why so many men have a hard time expressing feelings is because of our militant perception, because it's a very masculine thing to complete a project and, to have a task, because when you have a task, you can't necessarily tailor yourself or accommodate the feelings of other people on either end, because you're just doing it. And that's why in the military, they have a lot of numbers and codes and all that, and they don't really mess with names, and they don't really mess with slang and all that, because it just makes the mission very straight and narrow, just like a man's penis. It's hard, it's stiff, and it penetrates space, and and that's the masculine. That's why geometry and science are basically made in that sort of paradigm, or that they favor that side of the duality or the charge. And so everything is straight. And so it's smooth when they have the straight line, but also when they have to transition off the edge, it's very steep, it's very quick. And that's when we die of heart disease, basically, because it's like the transition is so hard for us.
Abrupt.
And yeah, it's very abrupt. And that's why we have a hard time breaking up. We love it when we first break up, but it's women handle it much better because it's curved, and that's where everything's spherical. But the connection between everything is a straight line. That's why the fastest route from point A to point B is a straight line. And that's why masculinity wants efficiency, and the feminine. I'm not trying to bash any side. It's just that it seems like the feminine like relationships, like the drama, the emotions of things, and so talk about that, and then the men are just like, I don't care, and so then they have their project at work that they need to tend to, and so they don't like talking about relationships, which makes it hard for them to get in touch with their feelings. So I just see that, and it's and I see myself go in and out of the masculine and feminine all the time, on different scales. So it's like a daily thing. And then I have over top of that, just like music, you have bigger waves that go over top of that and other waves in between on a monthly frequency. And so you have all these frequencies, daily, monthly, and yearly, and even lifetime frequencies. But the real question is, are they in harmony, all those frequencies in harmony with each other? Because if you have one of those frequencies within the day or within the month that isn't in sync with a yearly one, then you have a dissonance happening. And then that's what gets really hard, and we start feeling these health issues or physical issues and all that. So that's my personal opinion, is just really balancing the masculine and feminine, but we have to get in touch with both of those qualities and not necessarily say it's about this and not that. It's just that we like to say it's going to be more of one side than the other because we need to rebalance. But in total, it's pulling them both together. It's just hard for us to see that because, like I said, during that current time, we need more of the other. So right now, men need more femininity in their life because of this, and we're seeing it in different paradigms coming out. Like if you go, I won't go any.
You're fine. You're fine.
It's all right. But yeah,
I would say from the my perspective is in a woman's body this time. Hasn't always been a woman's body. That's what I know about my very, very ancient history. Sometimes it was a woman's body and sometimes it was a man's body, which really has been so helpful to me in this lifetime, because I can go, oh, wait, we got to go over here. Oh, no, wait, we got to go over here a little bit. Okay, good. Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's like riding a bike, you know, we want to lean one way and think that, oh, it's I'm going to be on the right hand of God, you know, and it's like, and so we lean on the right hand of God, and then we fall over because we don't have our center of gravity. We're not in tune with our body and the bike and then the ground that we're on. It's a trinity. It's a relationship. That's the true trinity, the masculine and feminine. It's not the Father, Son, and holy shit. Where's the feminine? It's the... You know, it's the masculine, the feminine, and the divine unity. Yeah, I mean, that's so, yeah, it's like riding a bike, you know, it's we'll lean both ways until we get that wobble just right, and then we're dancing at that point. So
we're getting there. We're really getting there. This is like, I'm having like just so much amazing fun, because this is the new and the new and the new. And as long as we are sort of like flexible and not holding on with that Draco-Reptilian rigidity about this is how it is, then it's like, wow, okay, here comes some more new. All right.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's very exciting. It's very exciting. And I really do feel we can access this part of ourselves in a way that is powerful, productive, penetrating, tender, loving, right? We just find our way through it. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
I just had a flash. I want to run it by y'all. The reason that the Draco-Reptilian so much had a war against the feminine and love is because when love really comes online, it is the ultimate weapon of mass destruction for the Draco thing, because love will dissolve it. Love is the cure. We always say love is the cure, love is the answer, but literally, alchemically, what you're really doing. I mean, they've been eating us. Now we're turning, or we're eating them with love, but in some ways, no. But the synthesis is in a way of is an integration into this field, is what I mean, not into their annihilation.
No, it's about the organic bliss. It's not weapons of mass destruction. It's weapons of organic bliss.
Well, I know, but it's the end of them.
No, it isn't. Why do you think that?
Well, the Draco part of me thinks that. I mean, why have they been fighting the feminine all this time?
Because they didn't know what else to do.
Okay.
How about this? Am I still on the mic?
Yes.
Okay. I feel like it's not necessarily the end of their race, because that's kind of like fighting fire with fire perception. It's just like the apocalypse. It's not the end of humanity. It's the end of, so it is the end of them, but it's the end of how they go about being here. That's my opinion. I mean, when we start changing our relationship with them, it shifts the dynamic, and they have to either they have to adjust to it as well, or they're going to get pushed out like magnets. You know, they just won't connect with it anymore. And so in a way it would be the end of them, but not because we're killing them with anything. It's because we're changing and aligning our particular energy to a state that they can no longer deal with. And so physically they would feel like they can't be there. And if they do want to stay here and do whatever it is that they're doing, they're going to have to go about it much differently. And we're going to have to make some different contracts, basically, but it's not on their terms anymore. It's, we're going to be talking about this in a much more respectful way. So yeah, it may not be like a deathly end to them, like a physical death.
Renegotiation into something new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. No, this is what I was using that in a joking fashion.
Well,
It
I know,
is-
but it's very real. It's very visceral.
Okay. Yes. Yes, you can see that. You have a few comments here in the Q&A box.
All right, go for it. Thanks, Chuck. Thanks, Cynthia.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, what else we got going on here?
Anastasia wants to know, RH, easier or harder rather than gender?
RH negative.
RH negative.
In other words, is a tail of my question. Is it harder for men to make this transition? Do they have more reptilian DNA? Or is that just the RH negative factor? Or does it have to do with the gender?
I think it's all of those things. And I think it's an individual process. It's an individual commitment. It's an individual choice. It's inspired by individual circumstances that are so exquisitely engineered by something bigger than the Draco-Reptilians that they're having a hard time imagining that. Because they think they're it. They designed it. It's theirs. They think they're it. What's happening is it's like, oh, whoa, what was that? Did you see that? What was that? Right? So, we're all going to go through our version of that. It's as hard as easier you want it as you want it to be. The choice. It's always a choice. I sound like, what's her name?
What is her name?
The Oracle. Oh my God. All right, never mind. Okay.
Yes, you definitely have that meme passing through you from time to time.
Adrian?
Hello, Karen.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Hi, you too.
Hi.
So am I thinking about this right? So your spirit comes in to your body, and in your body you've got two sets of genetics going on, or crossed. Each time you come in, you're coming into a different body. So you're trying to get your body to work in harmony and back in charge. And by doing that, you fix this line. Or I shouldn't say fix this line, but by doing that, you open up to everything you can be here on Earth. Your spirit can be. You open up.
Yes. And the beauty of what's going on right now is we have reincarnated and reincarnated and reincarnated and come into bodies and fractionated the DNA and reincarnated and fractionated the DNA. Well, we can see how that's working for us. Yeah? Yeah. So when we take this up as a choice, then we are so supported in the movement through time that's necessary to heal those fractionations. So part of what we're seeing going on right now as the throwing off of what feels like hate and all this are the it's the fragmentation residue, right? And we're doing our best to bring everything in and fold it in, integrate it in, complete it, move back and forth with it. If we do it as an ancestral lineage, if we do it as a racial lineage, beautiful, beautiful. But we need to appreciate the fractionation. And what we want to do this time is not reincarnate.
Okay.
Okay?
Uh-huh.
All right.
So you just bring it all together and
Yeah, and go.
okay. Because then you can travel, right? You can.
Oh, yeah.
You can do everything. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, does that help you?
It did, yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. All right. Okay, Sienna Leia, we're going to be doing this in the masterclass. We're going to have a whole unit on this. It's going to be okay. Because I can see your wheels turning. It's like, well, I don't know.
No, not true at all. Not true at all. I'm loving this, absolutely loving it. And it does feel that is the appropriate energetic match for what is occurring now. It's beautiful. It's everything is reborn in love. Everything is synthesized in love. It's absolutely what I'm feeling. It is, but it's been a struggle. And when you see what's going on in the world, and I've engaged in so many dialogues with people, how's this rolling out? Where is this going to go? And it looks so terribly gruesome and unfixable in the mass world stage.
I didn't say it was pretty. I didn't say it wasn't messy.
Yeah.
I didn't say it isn't downright ugly.
Yeah.
And
there's so much of it going on that, how many of us can do this to fix it for the whole, but this is another discussion. What's going to happen in and I try not to go there.
Just do your one.
Amen.
Okay.
A woman too.
Yeah, a woman. Just do your one. That's all you're responsible for.
That's so important to remember, isn't it? Those of us that are connected to the whole, it's hard to not martyr ourselves for the cause.
Okay, so here we go. Deep inner space, deep open space, deep cellular sacred space. So what we're going to do, I recommend really the best time to do this is when you're in bed, before you fall asleep at night. You're relaxed, you're stretched out, your body feels good, you get in that really best, most comfortable position. And you breathe, and you just gently breathe and feel yourself expanding ever so gently and creating space, and expanding and creating space. And now you're taking that into your breath, in your body, and you're expanding and creating space for your consciousness to move around and travel. You're opening up, and you're opening up, and you're breathing, and you decide where you want to go. You decide, feel your body, what part of your body is calling you, is attracting to you, wants to talk to you. And you breathe and you create this beautiful, profound, deep, sacred, open cellular space. Because as we all know, we are, in fact, mostly space. We go in and we find that area within us. Could be anywhere, could be an organ system, could be any part of your body where you're going to go in. And you're going to let yourself be called and drawn and attracted. And you're going to open ever more space so that you can go in deeper. And the space around you, everything's becoming bigger instead of smaller. So when you find that there's a cell that you want to enter, it's a beautiful cathedral. It's a sacred space. And you move into it. And you explore and you gently feel your way around that space. You announce your presence with loving authority. And you let yourself be drawn into that. There are two areas that you'll want to travel. One is into your coded woven strands of DNA that are braided and rebraided and this beautiful pattern. And you can go in and visit all of that and move through all of that information as fluidly as you can, as gently as you can. Let yourself feel what it's like to move and flow and reside and abide with those individual codons. Because they are you and you are them, and together you're co-creating while you have a body. So spend some time, just find yourself being drawn to one cell and go in and establish the relationship. Spend some time there. And when it feels like there's been a kind of a rapprochement, right? You'll feel it. settled feeling. Yeah? And then you say to this organization of yourself, as you are meeting it, also yourself, please show me my reptilian DNA relationships. I am ready to see and feel and know. Yeah? And now you've stated a clear intention. And this is your body. And when you feel like you have let that request ripple through and reverberate, then within that same cellular structure, you're going to visit your mitochondria, which is the maternal genetic line. And again, you're going to move in with a sense of relaxation and gentle purpose and clarity of intention, announcing your authority. Here I am. Delighted to be present with you in this way. Yeah? And then you say, please, I would like to know the story of my DNA reptilian information. I would like to be introduced to it. I would like to abide with it. And I am ready to and willing to see and feel and know. Yeah? Now, you may feel you want to hang out here for a while, because I tell you, once you start doing this, it's pretty yummy. And then when you feel ready to reorient yourself spatially, then you can begin that process and gently just begin to compress your light again so that you feel yourself once again solid, three-dimensionally. You may find that you're maybe not quite as solid as you were before, and that'll feel good. And then just relax, come back to a sense of your body and perhaps your surroundings and how comfortable you feel and safe and relaxed. And then with another couple of breaths, you're going to bubble up. You know how I teach you to create that wonderful bubble around you? Bubble of your own energy field. And you're going to fall asleep. That's it. Yeah, some of you are really getting this. It feels good, doesn't it? Okay, so that's one exercise that you can do.
We have a question. We have a comment.
Okay.
From Lemore Wolf. Do you want to read that, Adrian?
Sure. Okay. All right. Lemore asks, 2 of the guiding memes I was given a few years ago are matching to what Anais says. Above every roof, there is another roof. And whenever you are given 2 choices, choose a third one or create a fourth one. My question to Anais, what is possible to do if the heart is the target itself and is shut off?
Okay, let me have some more information about that, Lemur. The heart is the target itself. Explain that for me, please. So does Lemur have some more information for me?
She hasn't said anything, but I think what she's saying is because the process that you took us through is a process that your heart needs to be open in order to welcome in this aspect of yourself. She's saying, well, if the target's been your heart and your heart is not open, then how are you going to deal with this?
Well, golly, as I said, I married a Draco. And then after that experience, whoa, was my heart closed. Wow. Whoa. Okay. The experience that I just took you through, actually, you can just do this with intention, and your heart could find its way into the process after the 19th time or the 30th time. It's a way of just deciding that you're going to engage with yourself this way. And when you're doing it, if you don't feel a sense of love, then just notice that. Don't worry about it. Just do it anyway.
Limo did write back.
Okay?
The Draco-Reptilian do recognize the heart as our main response to them, and that is a main target for them to shut off. That is my experience, and Sienna explained it very well.
Yes. Well, no, that's not the only way to approach them. I certainly have had different approaches, but we're talking about you and your one inner connection to your Draco-Reptilian genetic story. And we're talking about your one heart. Yeah? So that's all we're confining ourselves to, just one. And heart was absolutely my ex-husband's target. Oh, it's just like, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yikes. Okay. So that was a power imbalance. My mammalian power imbalance. And when I realized the power imbalance, I stopped with expressing myself in that way. And he realized then that he could no longer intimidate or frighten me. And that was the end of that game. I took my power back in that relationship.
Does this clarify it for you, Limar, or do you need more in regards to this?
And if you can't find your power in your heart, find it in your belly.
So you can synthesize and bring it if there's just some part of you that's open that allows this for you to embrace it.
Mm-hmm. Because we don't always have our heart align with our intention when our hearts have been broken. That's a very big step, and it takes time. But if we don't take these kinds of steps, our hearts will remain broken and closed forever in this lifetime. And why would you choose that?
So she says, yes, absolutely. Thank you. The solar plexus and the heart are two strong points for us. Thank you.
You're welcome. Keep in touch. Let me know, because this is like, it's not, I make it look like it's a cakewalk. It's not a cakewalk. I want you to feel compassion for yourselves, if you can. Begin to try. Yeah.
So do you think that AI is just having a little bit of a hissy fit over all this love vibration and the end of its...
Oh, it so doesn't matter. And we're going into this and in more depth in the Conscious Co-Creation Masterclass, which some of you have already attended. Thank you so much. And I'm glad you attended this session because it's additional information for you, which is wonderful. Okay? Yeah?
Beautiful.
Yeah, we're not, no, we don't know. It's like, please. Okay. Anything else? This exercise will so get you started. It's the one that got me where I needed to go, if that gives you any reassurance. And I'm happy to share the others with you. In fact, probably why this is happening is because it's going to encourage me to do some kind of a recorded audio meditation, and there you go with the other ones. All right?
And we'll all find our own way as well. Now that we are circling the field here and getting a clear idea of what's occurring,
You bet.
each of us will find our own ways as well.
You bet. So I want to say To my Draco-Reptilian family, you all know what has happened to me this week. You all are aware of the process. And you all know what I'm engaging right now. And I want to just say, it will happen. It will happen as it was meant to unfold. And I will do it with grace and ease and care. And we all know that we're going to create something new. And we can flow with that process, or we can resist it. I'm flowing with it, and I would recommend that you do that as well. You will make your choice, but it's engaged, it's happening. And you all know, who are listening to me right now, the Draco-Reptilian, especially the royal bloodlines, you know what I'm saying. Okay, just want to leave you with that.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Anais. As always, this gives us a lot to chew on every level of our existence. And thank everybody to be open enough to look at the truth and actually show up to try to move these energetics for yourselves and for all of humanity. Thank you for bringing us such.
We're all in this together.
That's it. Yep.
Thanks everybody. Awesome. Santa Leia, thank you for holding such wonderful space and being like, ooh, you're so like, you remind me, do you know the breed of dog, the Basenji?
The who, what?
The Basenji. Do you know that breed of dog?
No, it sounds like a fungus though.
No. It's a beautiful dog, and it's a little tiny little small cherry dog, and it can bring down an elephant.
Wow.
Really, because it just keeps,
Keeps at it. That's one thing you can say about me. I keep at it year after year.
I love that about you. I love that about you. Adrian, thank you so much for staying up again late, and I hope your hamburger was good. Yeah? Okay. Bye, everybody.
The views presented on this broadcast do not necessarily represent that of Rise Multiversity or its individual members.